June 23, 2018, Chiang Rai Province, northern Thailand. The Wild Boars, a local junior football team of boys between 11 and 16 years old, finished their routine evening practice under the warm, tired sky. The team's assistant coach, Ekafon Eek Chanthawong, a 25-year-old former monk beloved by the boys for his calm presence and steady voice, suggested a short adventure to blow off steam. A quick exploration of the nearby Tham Luang Cave system. It was supposed to be a 1-hour trip, bit of excitement, and then back home. No parent knew about the plan. 2 boys elected to stay behind. One hadn't ridden his bicycle that day, and the other had to finish his homework at home. That left 12 boys and their young assistant coach, all packing light. Backpacks, bikes, and the bright, reckless confidence of teenagers who think the world is straightforward and forgiving. The cave's entrance sat under the slope of a mountain range. A warning sign stood at the lip of the mouth. Do not enter from July to October. Cave floods during monsoon. It was June 23rd. Rains usually came later in the region, and the plan was short. They arrived at the mouth of Tham Luang, left their bicycle in the darkness, laughing and joking. No one could imagine the hours that would follow, the decisions that would be forced on adults and children alike, or the way this mountain would demand everything from everyone who tried to save them. As the boys and their coach walked deeper, the cool air and limestone formations created a hush. They moved along the passages, feeling the thrill of exploration. It was peaceful, until the rain outside began to intensify. Up on the mountain, a sudden monsoon burst its banks. Water from higher slopes channeled straight into the cave's network of tunnels. Because the cave stretches under the mountain, its tunnels funnel water like gutters. The sound of rain outside never reached the boys because the cavern walls blocked it. By the time they realized something was wrong, the passages behind them had already begun to close. Water rose quickly and silently. There was no dramatic alarm, only the creeping, relentless climb of cold, muddy water. The boys turned to retrace their steps and found the path back partially submerged, then deeper still. With every attempt to go back, the water rose higher. Eek guided them deeper and higher, searching desperately for stable rock. Finally, they reached a narrow, elevated ledge, a shelf of limestone some 14 feet above the waterline and 124 feet above the cave's lowest point, later known as Chamber 9. When evening turned into night and no one returned home, alarms began to ring. Parents called the Wild Boars head coach repeatedly. When the head coach arrived at the cave mouth, he found a scene that stole his breath. The boys' bicycles and bags, abandoned and lined up. An ordinary tableau that suddenly meant something terribly wrong. The cave entrance was already choked with water. The sound of heavy rain filled the night. Phones rang relentlessly across town. Parents' worry sharpened into fear. Within hours, the situation exploded into a full-scale emergency. Local police, rescuers, and media converged on the mountain. Word spread quickly. The story leapt beyond Chiang Rai's roads, capturing national attention. 12 boys and their coach trapped in Tham Luang Cave. Streetlights and searchlights painted the cliff face and the trees. Families waited, distraught. Volunteers arrived with flashlights and warm clothes. Meanwhile, trapped deep inside, the boys sat in the dark. They had no idea how far they were from rescue or how many people were now searching for them. Responders moved fast. Thailand's Navy SEALs, trained for open water operations, were among the first to mobilize. They were fit, disciplined, and resolute, but cave diving is not the same as diving the open sea. In flooded caves, visibility can fall to zero, currents become unpredictable, and tunnels pinch down to widths too narrow for easy passage. The SEALs entered the cave and fought their way forward, only to be pushed back by torrents and murky water. The muddy visibility rendered their helmet lights virtually useless. Recognizing the severity of the challenge, Thai authorities requested international assistance. Experts arrived. UK cave divers Rick Stanton and John Valanthan, names respected in the world of cave rescue, boarded flights to Chiang Rai. From England to Thailand, they came with specialized gear and a calm resolve. Engineers and drilling teams set up pumps to begin the long, exhausting work of reducing water levels. But steady rains kept refilling the tunnels. The rescue would take planning, coordination, and an almost unimaginable supply of patience. Tham Luang is not a single corridor. It's a labyrinth, a series of chambers, narrow squeezes, submerged passages, and sudden staircases of stone. After roughly a kilometer of travel, the cave splits. One fork tumbles into blackness and continues for nearly 10 kilometers. To find the boys, rescuers wove ropes as guides, marking trails so divers could find their way back in the attrition of darkness. Pumps roared day and night, sucking millions of liters of water out of the cave. But each heavy storm could undo hours of work. The rescuers' primary objective was Pattaya Beach, a slightly higher area within the cave system that offered the best chance the boys might have found refuge. For every progress forward, the teams faced new barriers: silt-choked water, strong currents, collapsing rock, and passages so narrow they had to dig away at the edges to make space. In the meantime, the boys endured. 10 days passed with barely any food. They rationed whatever moisture they could harvest from cave walls. Their coach, Iak, who had spent time as a monk and practiced meditation, taught them breathing techniques to conserve energy and calm panic. On the night of July 2nd, after nearly 10 days of searching, volunteers and cave experts pushed further than before. Rick Stanton and John Valanthan had planned their route meticulously, moving past Pattaya Beach and deeper into the tunnels. It was late, oxygen levels were being watched carefully, and the divers debated whether to turn back. Then, a smell. Human scent carried faintly in the tight spaces. The divers' flashlights revealed eyes. 13 people huddled on a rock shelf. One boy responded in English. 13. Abdul Samon, the only boy who spoke enough English, answered for the group. The divers filmed the encounter. That simple exchange, the word 13, echoing inside a black cave, became an image the world would carry for years. The mission shifted from searching to extracting, and the entire world pivoted, holding its breath as the rescue plan escalated into its most dangerous phase. Finding the boys raised a question that would haunt every decision: how to get them out alive. The group was roughly 4 kilometers inside the cave, a brutal distance when every step involved underwater passages, narrow squeezes, and unpredictable currents. Experienced cave divers took 6 hours to reach the boys on a one-way trip. Teaching children, already weak from hunger and exposure, to undertake that journey alone was unthinkable. 3 options were considered, and each one collapsed under the reality of risk. Teach the boys to dive and swim out, too dangerous given the complexity and the kids' physical state. Drill from above straight down to the chamber, impractical because the mountain was composed of solid rock, and drilling would take far too long. The only realistic plan was a cave dive extraction. Sedate the boys, fit them with full face masks and wetsuits, and guide them out one by one. The plan was unprecedented. The stakes were enormous. If a single child panicked inside a submerged tunnel, the result could be fatal. On July 6th, tragedy underscored the mission's danger. Former Thai Navy SEAL Saman Kunan entered the cave to install oxygen tanks and ran out of air on his return. He did not come back. The news of his death rippled through the rescue teams and the nation. Saman's sacrifice crystallized the risk. If a veteran diver could die inside the cave, the hazards were beyond theoretical. Australian anesthetist and cave diver Dr. Richard Harris arrived. He had both medical expertise and cave diving experience, a rare and crucial combination. His role would be to sedate the boys using ketamine, a powerful anesthetic, so they would not panic during extraction. Each boy would be placed into a wetsuit, fitted with a full-face diving mask that allowed breathing from both nose and mouth, and tethered to a guide rope. A diver would swim beside each boy, controlling the movement and monitoring the mask and oxygen link. One by one, 12 frightened boys plus their coach would be taken through a submerged labyrinth, while their bodies were rendered unconscious for the journey. Execution began on July 8th. Teams of divers, many internationals, set out with one aim: return every child to daylight. The first wave brought 4 boys to the surface, unconscious, pale and fragile, but alive. They were rushed to field hospitals and stabilized. Each extraction took hours. Teams refilled oxygen tanks, changed equipment, and prepared for the next dive. On July 9th, 4 more emerged alive. On July 10th, the final 4 boys and their coach were brought out. Hospital wards, packed with family and rescuers, watched as children who had once been swallowed by the mountain were wheeled into fluorescent light. Across 10 days of frontline effort, more than 10,000 people participated in the operation. Volunteers, divers, soldiers, policemen, doctors, and engineers. Over 1 billion liters of water were pumped from the cave system. Several nations sent specialists and equipment, yet the mission was not without cost. In addition to Saman Kunan, Navy SEAL Beirut Pakbara later died from complications tied to his service in the rescue. By the end, every boy and their coach emerged alive, a result that felt miraculous given the odds. The rescue operation became a global story of cooperation and courage under unbearable pressure.